Welcome to the CEO Crowd Show. I'm your host and coach, Rebecca Nesbitt, and today is a manifestation come true before your eyes and or ears in the form of an interview with my friend Alex. Alexandria Maria is a powerhouse business and manifestation coach who truly is taking the world by storm with a very unique, no-nonsense and fully authentic approach to help high-level leaders who are looking to live a life that is just beyond what you could contain on a vision board. We explore everything from Sunday Scaries to upgrade season. Alex shares her journey of entrepreneurship from jam brand owner, which is jelly for our Americans in the house, to business mentor with a blend of manifestation, real talk, and magic. If you want to learn how to feel aligned along your journey, know when you're misaligned, and make manifestation a part of your business, you are in the right place. Without further delay, I feel incredibly grateful to introduce Alexandria Maria. Alex, welcome to the CEO Crowd podcast.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited for this.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited too. I feel like this is all my Christmases come at once. And I think that this is the perfect conversation to have when it comes to manifestation. I feel like somehow in a past life I've manifested this exact meeting.
Babe, I feel like this about my life in general. Like I totally get this. Like I said this the other day, I was like, I must have been so nice in a past life. Like I don't know what I did, but I'm grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, we were very good people, and we continue, I believe, to be, in my completely biased opinion of us.
Totally.
Absolutely. So I think that I feel a really good place to start would be the story of how we even know each other, because I feel like, and this is just me speaking from my soul, I feel like I'm a very small fish in a very big pond, and you're a way bigger fish in the pond. So I just feel so grateful for our friendship and for our connection. But I feel like on the vibe of manifestation, like how this all came about is wild. Would you like me to tell the story or would you like to tell the story?
I want you to tell the story, but the only thing I want to say is I totally disagree about the pond analogy there because like you are crushing and I'm going to share this. Do people get to see the video? Can people see you?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so go check out the video if you're listening to this because Rebecca's wearing a branded t-shirt. She's got the pink mic, the pink headphones. I'm getting a whole upgrade here. I'm like, I need to be more cohesive with the pink because this is a whole vibe. I am loving it. I am loving it. But I'll let you tell the story of how we met.
I feel like also on that note, I have a little pink drink also.
Oh my gosh.
She
Everything.
she's on brand, y'all. She's on brand. Thank you for that insight. That really does mean a lot. And I think that this would be really interesting from both of our perspectives, actually, how we met, because both had completely different experiences. One of my clients dropped me a message and it was a screenshot of your Instagram stories, and it was the cutest dogs in the world curled up next to each other. And my client was like, hey, if you're in Austin, you might be able to help this person out. And I was like, oh, sure. And it was to watch someone's dogs while they went on holiday. And I love dogs. And myself and my husband were considering, do we stay in the country? Do we move to the city? And you're much closer to the city than we are, kind of in Austin, Texas. And I was just like, I think this is a really good idea. And I just had that feeling of, I think this is a brilliant idea. And not thinking about any of the other things that we would have to do, like look after cattle at the ranch, or um, we were traveling at the same time. We had to be in LA a few of those days. And I was just like, it's just going to work. I think it's a really good idea. So then I contacted you and I was like, hey, if you haven't found anyone, just let me know. And I believe I contacted you again and I was like, hey, still here. Because I can imagine you were just going through a million things. And I was like, I'm sure they've just kind of forgotten to get back to us or whatever's happened. And I was like, life, but also I go after what I want. So I was like, still here. Would love to like meet the dogs. And then we met up and it was just like you guys were so cool. You checked us out. We clearly were like normal people that didn't want to steal your dogs 100%, just like 99% because they're awesome. And we watched the dogs and stayed in your house for like a month.
Oh my God. So from my perspective, you guys were literally like the angels that came flying in because So for background, our dog Bagel, he went missing when we were living in Miami, and we quite fairly are semi-traumatized but whenever we have to leave the dogs. And added to this, I was like super early postpartum. Leo was super young. I'd gone back to work. I was trying to like just like figure out how to do all these things, and we had to travel back to Europe. And I was like, oh, I'm just like praying like for some amazing angel humans who can support us. And you guys came in. And it was really funny because when we met, I was like, they're so normal. I love them. I want to just go for a walk with them and grab a coffee with them. I was like, this is perfect. So you were literally our guardian angels. And I was so grateful as well because I was super inspired that first meeting, hearing about you both and what you were up to in the world, and just like it just felt perfect. So I'm forever grateful for you guys just being the absolute. You said you were nice in a past life, babe. You are like you're a guardian angel in this life as well. So thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. But I think that's so interesting because I think a lot of the time we almost try and like manufacture connection sometimes. It's like, oh, if I go to this event with all the like-minded people, I'll find someone who's like-minded. And I think we forget actually, if you're just a really nice human being, those things just happen.
Oh my God, totally. And like, I also think just following your instincts of when to say yes to things, even when they don't necessarily make sense. I think things just, I remember actually, and I know that you're a big Brendan girl as well, but like, I remember Brendan Burchard saying at one of his events about how, I'm going to butcher this because I always butcher things, but it was something about God's opening doors for you right now that you're not even aware of. And I really think that's true in life. Like you saying yes to something might lead to something else that you're not even aware of. But you have to start taking those steps and start moving for those doors to start opening.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like this leads us perfectly into, now that we know how we know each other, people may know me, and if they've been living under a rock and they don't know you, which by the way they absolutely should, because we've been sharing its upgrade season like you wouldn't believe on our Instagram, because it's wonderful and we'll get there. But I would love a little like Alex introduction from Alex, and also a little bit about, because obviously people are here because they love to hear the journey of entrepreneurship, and I would love to hear what that really looked like for you.
My name is Alex, obviously. I am really big into manifestation. I'm really big into really designing a life and a business that supports you feeling fully lit up and fully alive. So that could be through supporting women actually building their businesses. It could be through retreats and experiences that we run, or through the podcast itself. It's Upgrade Season, which is all about upgrading your life in the most fun way possible.
I love that. So to get to this place where you run programs, retreats, the podcast, where you're interviewing the coolest people, I had the absolute blessing of being there with you and your besties, Mel Wells and Natalie Ellis, a few weeks ago. That podcast is incredible, and it in person was complete fire. You're interviewing the coolest freaking people. How did you get there?
Oh my gosh, good question. Um, so I want to caveat this by first saying, I think when you're at the start of that kind of journey, you keep asking like, how am I going to get there? And the how just becomes part of it. It just like unfolds for itself. And then when you're there, you kind of look back and you're like, how did I get there? And it still doesn't fully make sense. And the reason I reference that is because I think as much as there's always the steps that you take and the actions that you take, you got to leave space for some magic. And there was definitely so much magic in the journey. It started when I was in corporate and I was working as an insurance broker. That was my previous life. And I just had a complete breakdown one weekend. I'd been to see my parents in Manchester. I was on the train home to London and I started to cry. It was a Sunday. And I thought, oh, I've got the Sunday Scaries as per usual. And it got to Monday and I was still crying. And I thought, okay, well, this is weird, but I'll throw a sickie. Never done that before. And by Tuesday, I will get my shit together and I'll be fine. I'll go back into work. We'll pretend none of this ever happened. But Tuesday comes and I'm still a complete mess. I'm like, I can't physically get myself dressed and get myself into that office. And I'm like a high functioning, high performing Capricorn. So this was very alien to me. Like I hadn't let people down before. I hadn't shown up to work before. Like come rain or shine, hangover or not, I was in work. And so I was like, I can't get myself dressed. I can't get myself into that office. There's nothing that can get me to go there today. And for lack of a better option, I went to the doctor. I was like, hey, I started crying on Sunday and I can't stop. What do I do? And they signed me off work. And it came as such a shock. I just couldn't believe that I was being signed off. I couldn't believe it had got to this point. I thought I was holding it together pretty well, and it felt like it just kind of combusted. I think actually the best analogy was I felt like I've been putting sticky tape on all the cracks and hoping that it would keep everything together. And all of a sudden, all the sticky tape burst off and I just completely crumbled. So the first week I was just in shock and in grief. And I literally lay in my room being like, what is going on? Where do I go from here? Like, this is mortifying, basically. And in week 2, I realized no one was coming to rescue me. Like I had to rescue myself because I was clearly very, very unhappy beneath the surface. I didn't love my job. I loathed the idea of spending the next 50 years doing that job. And something radically had to change in my life. And so in that second week, I decided to just start following the breadcrumbs. I was like, I'm just going to go to events. I'm going to start reading things. I'm going to start just trying to find some clue of something of where I can go from here. And I was at one of those events when I was actually there to try and blag a job. I thought I'll try and blag a job with someone. It was going to be in the food industry. I loved food. I love health food. I was like, great, I'll go blag a job. And actually, when I was sat there, I had this idea for a health food company. And I just went into nutty professor mode. I was in my kitchen. I was making all these different concoctions. I was getting everyone to sample it. And I handed in my notice at work and I was like, I'm leaving. And everyone was like, cool, what firm are you going to? And I was like, I'm leaving to make jam. And they were like, okay. Okay. And that's what I did. I left. I went and made jam. We went from making it in my kitchen to being stocked in Whole Foods, Planet Organic, Selfridges, Holland & Barrett, Ocado, Delicious Yellow's Delis. Really kind of went from 0 to 100 with it. And in the background, in the process of that, I was studying to become a health and life coach because I really wanted to help people. The whole ethos behind the company was helping people live better lives, helping people thrive and feel good in the food that they were eating and feel nurtured. And I knew that how they were living the rest of life was a huge part of that. I'd literally been through that experience myself. And secondly, I wanted to be able to help people with their health journeys beyond just the health product itself. And through that journey, it was very there was a lot of self-discovery through that journey naturally as well, because you're discovering all these modalities, you're analyzing your own life in many ways. And I realized that the vehicle that I wanted to help people through wasn't a health food company, it was actually through the coaching itself. So made that transition from the company into coaching and kind of ended up where I am today.
That's amazing. I love how it started with jam.
I started with jam.
It all started with
Jam.
jam.
All started with jam. God bless the jam.
Or the jelly for the Americans in the room.
Yes. True.
Oh my God. Is that something that still gets you? This is a complete side note, but is that something that still gets you living in America now? Is how just different phrases mean different things.
Constantly. Like I said to the other day, a guy in Target, I was like, where are the bin bags? And he was like, we don't sell bin bags. And I was like, hang on, the trash bags. And he was like, oh yeah, the trash bags are around aisle 21. I was like,
Yeah. I said the other day, I was like, Zach, can you grab that from the boot? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the trunk.
trunk.
Oh my
But
God.
then do you get it when you go home? You like say something and people are like, you're so American now.
Yeah. I get my accent goes very American when I go home, but then when I'm in America, then they're like, you're very Scottish. And I'm like, I'm having an existential crisis over my own accent. I don't know who I am anymore when it comes to how I speak. So, yes, oh my gosh, that gets me all the time, and especially when I go home. So I came from an island called Shetland, which
Mhm.
has its own dialect altogether. Like, we're talking Shetland is, what Liverpool is to England in terms of accent difference. Like, it's
Oh my
just
God, can you
so
do an
different.
impression? I want to hear it.
Of a Shetland accent? Absolutely not. No, it's so gone. If I speak to my friends from Shetland, it will come back. If I spend like 45 minutes, an hour on a phone with people, then I'll start to just naturally pick it up, but I cannot put it on to save myself. Mm-mm.
I'm gonna have to Google that afterwards. Shetland dialect.
I will send you a video that you will think is hilarious. So I will send you the video.
It's not the fudge maker, is it?
No.
Oh,
What is the
my
fudge maker?
so that's so weird now. My right-hand woman is from Orkney Islands, and she like constantly educates me on all these things like blackenings and the accents and just all these things. And she showed me this video once of this fudge maker to demonstrate the dialect, and I was obsessed. I've never been able to find the video since. So I was like, is it the fudge maker? But clearly not.
I'm sorry, it's not the fudge maker, but I feel like now I really want to find that. If I ever
I'll get her
see
to
it,
send it me.
I will send it to you. So to come back to the actual journey, that was not just the journey from the UK to America, because I know that you've done so much traveling in that as well,
Mm,
in that business journey. I think that, you can speak about your business journey, but a lot of the time, like life guides that too. So
mm.
I love that you shared that. I never knew that it started with jam and or jelly. And how amazing to get to where you are from there. And I think that the question I always ask people is like, what was the original why? And what
Mhm.
is the why now? Because I feel like they also transition over time. So I don't want
Mm.
to put words in your mouth because I know I just heard your story, but what would you say what that original why was and what has it transformed into?
So I remember originally I had this really clear desire for people to feel good on a really basic level. And I'd been through my own journey of mental health struggles. I obviously spoke about then having a mental breakdown, but I had a history of anxiety and depression. And I knew something that really supported me in that journey was lifestyle and dietary changes. And it was something that I didn't hear much about. I'd gone down the medicated route a lot. It didn't personally work for me, and I really caveat that with personally because I know for some people medication is a complete blessing. So it really was just this desire to support people to feel good. And that started to evolve. I realized that I didn't want any other woman crying in the toilet at work. I wanted her to feel excited about work and lit up about the things that she was doing and feeling like it was in alignment with her greater life journey that she and goals that she had within her life. And I say there's still a strong line of that now. Like something I love now is supporting women to remember how capable they are of just creating anything in their own lives. And really the thing that I always come back to is living a reality even greater than your vision board. Because in so many ways, actually, that vision board, no matter how expansive the dreams we put down on there are, it's pretty limited when we consider just how capable we are of creating within our own lives, within our reality, the vision board's so small in comparison. So I would say there's still that vein. I think it's just expanded to something bigger.
I love that. I love that analogy. I feel like there is not a vision board big enough to contain the vision. And I love the way that you worded that. So thank you for sharing that. And how beautiful that your why has changed so much over the journey of your business. And I think that that then leads me to then want to ask a little bit more like let's get into the work that you do because we were saying we're big into manifestation. So we'd love to hear more about what manifestation is to you because I do believe that in this space, then there's so much information that I would really love to narrow it down to what does manifestation mean to you?
Mhm.
And then also like what works and what doesn't. Like give us the tea on what
Uh,
actually is legit, like what's going to work and what's not.
Oh, I love that. So to me, manifestation is very simple. I want to begin with that because I think one thing that can happen with manifestation is we overcomplicate it. But manifestation is very, very simple when we break it down. It's bringing something into our physical reality through our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions. And people often speak about your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in regards to manifestation, but starting to dip into question two, something that people miss is the action part of it. So, The Secret, incredible book, very well known, all about manifestation, law of attraction. But unfortunately, I think you can read The Secret and believe I can sit on my meditation cushion. I will visualize, I will open my eyes, and ta-da, my new reality has manifest. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite work like that. That's part of it, that's part of the manifestation. But the law of action is really, really important. So, manifestation is built upon the spiritual laws of the universe, and there's multiple spiritual laws. And one of them is, yes, the law of attraction or the law of vibration we hear about as well. Like attracts like, being on the vibration of that you want to attract. But there's also the law of action. So we have to start to take steps towards the things that we desire in order to bring them into our reality. And the best way that I can describe it is almost like the yin and the yang, or the masculine and the feminine. So we all have these energies within us. It's not gendered. If you identify as a feminine woman, doesn't mean you're just feminine energy. And same for a man. A man has feminine energy within him. But it's just a way of kind of categorizing these different energies. With manifestation, we want to bring the masculine and the feminine together too. So the feminine would be that creativity of thinking, okay, well, what's possible for me? And that kind of dreamer energy, and the meditation and the visualization, or the embodiment practices. And the masculine energy is having a goal. It's taking action steps. It's having focus and direction. And I really think your manifestations are most powerful when you can bring both of those things together. So a little bit of goal setting and a little bit of magic really fusing together. I think that's how we make really powerful manifestations into our reality.
Powerful. That's powerful. And I think that the law of attraction seems very desirable because I think that we feel like we then don't have to do anything. And I
Yeah.
can understand why that feels really like that feels really good. Like, would you love your dream life and you don't have to do anything for it? Like, yes, that'd be wonderful. Sign me up. Thank you. But
Yeah.
if you are sitting there and those things haven't happened, then I think it is this like, okay, well, there's no action there. There's no magnetism almost. Like I feel like masculine and feminine energies, they magnetize towards each other. So like you were saying, like that's almost what sparks the magic of actually bringing that manifestation or something better into reality.
Totally. And I'll call myself out on this. I had this realization very, very recently. I was in the shower and I was thinking to myself, I had this like big drop in that something big was coming. And had this feeling. You had that feeling where you just know like you're in an expansion season and you're like, oh, something really big and juicy is coming. So I had that feeling. I had that feeling. And every day I was like, okay, what is it? Like, where's it going to come from? Like, what's going to happen? And I was having this feeling every morning. And I would look at my phone, I'd look at my emails, I'd be like, where's it going to come from? And nothing was happening. And I was like, but I can feel it. I can feel that expansion. I can feel that energy of something big happening. Where the hell is it? And I realize I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about this big thing. And I'm like, where's it hiding? And I'm like, hang on, Alex, when did you take any steps in the past week or so towards something big happening? When did you throw it out there to receive something back beyond what you expected? And I'd realized I'd been in this state of like, oh, something big's happening, but I hadn't been doing anything. I hadn't been taking any steps. I hadn't been creating any openings for that to appear. So I think we have to really be mindful of that as well, and think, okay, well, how can I start to open up those pathways for that magic to come in, really?
So insightful. And Thank you for sharing that, because I truly believe that the best coaches in the world are the ones that struggle with the same things that you do. Like, I do think that's accurate. They've been through the process and they've been through the journey. So it's so powerful to think that, just last week you were standing in the shower and you're like, gosh darn it. I've obviously gone very Texan. Gosh darn it. I haven't been actually taking the steps. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Like, this is probably manifestation 101. And I think that I love to kind of tie this up in a bow. What you were saying about manifestation to you is very simple. I think that most of us are resistant to doing those simple things, or we just forget because it's the simple thing. Oh, surely I've like learned that lesson. So I
Mhm.
know now, I know better. So thank you for sharing that. And on that energy of big things happening, I feel like we have to talk about, there's a podcast, you might have heard of it. It charted at number 17. It's called It's Upgrade Season. I would love to hear about the whole theme of Upgrade Season, because I feel like it wasn't just a random name that you plucked for a podcast. I don't think things happen randomly to you. But I feel like it was a sign of something bigger, and I would love to hear where it really comes from.
I love this question. So, as I said earlier, I qualified to become a coach, and I'm like, this is what I need to be doing. And I began manifestation coaching, and then I was asked to business coach by people who had seen me run my previous business. So I started product-based business coaching, and as my service-based business grew, service-based business coaching as well. And the business was incredible. It was growing and growing. We did a 5K month within 6 months, and then a six-figure year within a year, and then a six-figure month within a year of that. It really grew at an exponential rate. And all this to say, we were helping hundreds of women with their own businesses, and it was incredible. And then I went through my own shift in life, and I found out I was pregnant. Wasn't planned, it was unexpected, greatest blessing ever. But it really threw things up in the air for me because, like I said, I'm a Capricorn. I had a plan, and the plan was no longer able to be actioned in the way that I had planned for it. So I really went through a real identity death and a real rebirth as part of it. And as is often the way in a death and rebirth, it's not just through motherhood. I think, I explained a previous one as well through the breakdown. I think we feel like we're losing everything at the time. It feels like everything's falling away. And we kind of get that grippy energy of like trying to hold on to something because we're like, no, why are you going as well? And kind of don't leave me. Like, we're kind of gripping onto all these different pieces. And I was doing that a little bit with my identity and my life and my business. And I was realizing these things that had felt so aligned and lit me up so much beforehand no longer fitted into this new season of life that I was going to be entering. And what I realized going through it again was actually every time we go through this death and rebirth, it leads to our biggest upgrade. This is actually an invitation for it to be our upgrade season. And in this new season of upgrade I was in, where actually I didn't want to become a mum and shrink my vision. I wanted to make my vision fucking 1,000 times bigger than it had ever been before. So I'm expanded. I've got this bigger vision than ever before. And this is my upgrade season. I'm like, I want this to feel fun. I want this to feel good. And I want other women to get to feel good in this. Because I think sometimes personal development can feel quite heavy. It can feel like doing the work. I mean, doing the work in itself, that phrase does not light me up. Like, if you tell me to do the work, I'm instantly turned off. So, like, I wanted to just infuse some of the fun, some of the human back into that, and also just be a permission slip for the duality in it all. You can be a deeply spiritual person and you can love having a glass of wine. You can love backpacking and also love owning a bougie Chanel handbag. Like, you get to own all these different parts of yourself. And that's what Upgrade Season was all about. It was all about bringing personal development, bringing that life upgrade to women, but in a way that felt fun, in a way that felt light, so it felt enjoyable to them.
And I love that you can, I think that this is something that we get from social media a lot, is that we have to be one thing. Like, if you're a mom, you should actually stay at home. If you're a business owner, you should actually be running your business. If you like dragons, you also have to like cosplay and you have to go to all the conventions. I think that like society as well as Instagram or social media really strives to put us in a box. And I think that what we're finding now with this rise of like the multi-passionate entrepreneur, or even just this concept that we are more than just one dimensional. I think that so many more people are leaning into that. And it's like, I can just actually like what I like. That's true.
Yeah.
That's real. Like, I'm
Yeah.
allowed to like all of those things if I want to. And I also can not like some things if I want to. Wow. I think that's actually a really huge shift. And I think that that's also where I would be really interested to hear your thoughts on this. This is a personal question, but I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this because I think that as a collective, we go through these things too. Do you feel like this is coming into almost like upgrade season of the collective?
Oh my gosh, 1,000%. Great question. 1,000%. I was in this like motherhood birth cocoon, and as I emerged from it, I was like, oh no, lots of people have gone through this. And like I said before, it didn't look like motherhood for everyone, but it did look like a business no longer being aligned, a relationship no longer being aligned, a place where they were living no longer being aligned. I think there has been this great awakening and also recalibration and upgrade, because I think the decisions that people are making are more supportive to them, are more supportive for the long-term happiness and fulfillment. And I think people aren't willing anymore to be so, I guess, self-sacrificing in the pursuit of things. I think people are realizing like, no, we have to do this in a way that feels good. Otherwise, it's just not sustainable.
Absolutely. And I would love your opinions on this because I feel like with this concept of, have you ever heard of theory of mind?
Mm,
So theory of mind is essentially like the very basics of theory of mind are we all have different meanings that we give to words. So love to you will have a very different meaning than love to me potentially, right? And it might be, you know, if someone had grown up in a family home that was very disrupted and they had a version of love that wasn't necessarily unconditional love, what we would understand it to be, then their understanding of the word is very different. And I think this happens a lot online, and it happens a lot of coaching, and it happens a lot in spirituality. So, when it comes to alignment and misalignment, how would you explain those? And how would you maybe share with someone who didn't really understand that concept
yeah.
what each of them feels like? How do you
Mm.
know when you're aligned? How do you know when you're misaligned?
I love that you said, how do you feel? Because I do think both of them are a feeling. And I think that's often where people go wrong with alignment. They try and intellectualize it too much, or go too much into the mind around, does this work for me? You know, in order to discover your alignment, you can't write a list of pros and cons. You know, you've really got to just feel into it. And the best way that I can describe it is when something's in alignment, it feels exciting, fizzy, and flow. It feels like, ooh, like this feels, and I'm not always going to say it feels good, because alignment can be shit scary. Alignment can be really pushing you outside of your comfort zone. So it will feel expansive, is maybe the way to describe it, but it won't necessarily always feel good. Maybe it will feel good at times, but not always feel good. Misalignment, there's almost this I have this image of two pieces of fabric almost going against each other, and they're rubbing each other up the wrong way. Yeah, it's like this scratchy feeling. It doesn't feel right. And to try and make that more tangible, it could be, for example, you notice when you are going to go and do something, you feel an energetic drain from it. So, say you have an hour call in your diary, and for that call, you feel wiped out for the 2 hours afterwards, and for the hour before, you're dreading it, and you don't feel particularly great on the call itself either. Well, you've got 4 hours of energetic drain happening around a 1 hour call. That would be a sign of misalignment. versus you've got an hour call in your diary, you're kind of excited for it, you're a little bit nervous. Beforehand, maybe there's a bit of anticipation. You get into it when you're running it, you're in real flow, and then afterwards you feel a sense of elation. I think that would be a kind of more tangible feeling of alignment and misalignment. But as with all of this, I think that the theory that you shared there was so potent, because I'm trying to give a variety of sensations around this. It's going to feel different for everyone. And the second thing I would say to that is alignment is constantly shifting. And I think that's another huge thing that we have to honor, because I think previously people have thought, okay, well, if I find my alignment, that's my alignment for life. That's not the case. You know, we shift and we evolve. Our cells completely renew in our body every 7 years. So we have to honor those shifts and honor those evolutions within ourselves. When we then bring in major life events such as starting a new business, ending a relationship, starting a relationship, having a child, it's natural that that alignment is going to recalibrate depending on the season that you're in.
Absolutely. So what we're hearing is alignment is the upgrade, y'all. That's what we're hearing.
I love the y'all. You're proper Texas now, babes.
Oh, I mean, I live in the country, so that's probably why it's not civilized out here in the middle of absolutely nowhere. But thank you so much for all of this. I think this has just been such an interesting and insightful conversation. I'm so grateful for it. I'm also so grateful that we'll see you in the CEO Crowd membership. We're going to be talking all things manifestation on April 4th. So cannot wait for that. But before we close out this wonderful conversation, because I could literally just keep asking you questions all day, Alex, I'm not going to lie. If you had one message, just as a summary of your purpose, as much as it's maybe advice for our listeners, female entrepreneur or not, what would that be?
I think the biggest piece of advice, both through my personal lived experience and working with other entrepreneurs, is keep moving forwards, even if it's the tiniest step, because everyone talks about the quantum leap, and quantum leaps are amazing, but often the quantum leaps are created through a compounding of much smaller actions. So keep taking those actions, even if it's just one small thing, just keep taking them, because that's the way that you look back in a year's time and be like, oh my gosh, my reality just looks radically different, and this is incredible.
Oh, amazing. I just literally had the imagery. I don't know if you have you ever been to New Zealand?
Mm.
So in New Zealand, you can go to this place called the Tongariro Crossing. If you ever go, I highly recommend. It's an amazing 10K hike up a mountain, and essentially it's Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings. Really cool. So if you want to be a complete nerd when you go to New Zealand, do this hike. And
Yeah.
at the beginning of this hike is this thing called the Devil's Staircase. And it is
Mm.
so high you can't even see the top. And it is savage. They call it the Devil's Staircase very aptly.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as you were saying that, it's about those small steps. Sometimes those small steps also feel like you're going up the Devil's Staircase. But as soon as you get to the top, you're in mountains and it's just the most amazing view. And that's like what you were saying, like you'll look back in a year and you've come so far because you chose to take those steps. So thank you for that image and that reminder. It was such a
That place
beautiful.
sounds amazing. I now want to book a
Simple.
trip to New Zealand.
Oh, it's so cool. Please wear appropriate shoes. I had boots from New Look on, and they were like fashion boots, but they looked enough like hiking boots. They let me do it, and I
Oh
should not have done
no.
it. Oh my gosh. There's many stories that go alongside that hike, but I was not prepared to do it. And I didn't really realize what a 10K was. Clearly, I didn't realize it was going to be up a mountain. I was not prepared. I was not adequately snacked. And it was very interesting. I ran the last 2K with my friend because we were scared the bus was going to leave without us. Like, oh my gosh, it was an experience. It was wonderful, but highly recommend. There is a part where you literally scale the side of the mountain. So if you are going just you and Jake, you'll be fine. But if you're taking Leo, please be very conscious because obviously that would be very dangerous. But apart from that, it's wonderful. Highly recommend.
I felt there needs to be a whole podcast episode in itself. And I just want to say I'm so excited to come in and do the whole manifestation session. I'm gonna go really deep, dive into the whole, have a whole framework we can go through. So yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful. And this was wonderful. So thank you so much for your time, Alex. We're really grateful for you.
Thank you.